7, 8, and 9, simplifying some radical expressions. Square root of 45 is an irrational number. If you put it in your calculator, you get that big, long, crazy decimal. But you can simplify it by factoring it into something that has a perfect square. So when I think of factoring 45, I would factor 45 into the square root of 9 times the square root of 5. The reason I use 9 is because 9 is the biggest perfect square that divides evenly into 45. And then I'm going to simplify the part that's the perfect square. The square root of 9 is 3, and so I'm just going to get 3 times the square root of 5. You don't really need the dot in between, so we just put 3 square root of 5. So think of your numbers that are perfect squares. 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, 6 squared is 36, 7 squared is 49, 8 squared is 64, 9 squared is 81, 10 squared is 100. That's probably big enough. But those are the factors that you're looking for. What's the biggest one of these that divide evenly into my number? So if I'm simplifying the square root of 48, what's the biggest perfect square that divides evenly into 48?
8.
8's not a perfect square. 6 is not a perfect square, right? It's got to be on this list I just wrote down of my perfect squares. So look at my numbers. Obviously 49 is too big. 36 to, 16. 16 times 3 is 48, right? So I want to write this as the square root of 16 times the square root of 3. Square root of 16 is? 4. So I get 4 square root of 3 for my answer. So it's always nice to have that little list of your perfect squares handy, so when you're looking at which factor do I want to use if I'm kind of stuck, I can just work my way up my list and say, oh, which one works here? So if I'm going to do the square root of 27, what's the biggest perfect square that divides into 27 evenly?
9 and 3.
9. So 9 times 3. So square root of 9 times the square root of 3. And the square root of 9 is? 3. So we get 3 square root of 3 for our answer. Okay, that makes sense?
Yeah.
Alrighty. So on the next ones, we're going to add a couple things that you've done already.